Success is not a destination you reach. It is a frequency you tune into long before you ever arrive. Most people are living life backward. They believe that once they have the money, once they have the title, once they have the recognition, then they will finally feel successful. They wait for external validation to give them permission to feel powerful. They wait for a bank balance to give them permission to feel secure. They wait for a promotion to give them permission to lead. This is the ultimate trap of the 99%, and it is why most people spend their entire lives chasing a ghost that always stays 10 steps ahead of them. If you are listening to this, you are likely frustrated. You feel like you have the drive. You feel like you have the potential, but the reality of your life does not yet match the ambition in your head. You look around and see a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and that gap feels like a canyon. You think that what you need is more luck, more connections, or more time. You are wrong. What you need is a complete and total overhaul of your internal operating system. You need to start thinking like you are already successful before a single cent of profit hits your account. This is not about positive thinking or empty affirmations. This is about identity. It is about the fundamental realization that your external world is a lagging indicator of your internal state. If you are waiting for the world to change before you change your mindset, you have already lost. You are a victim of your circumstances rather than the architect of your destiny. Most people are spectators in their own lives, watching things happen to them and reacting with fear or hope. You, however, are being called to something different. You are being called to inhabit the persona of the winner while you are still in the trenches. You are being called to carry yourself with the confidence of a champion while you are still training in the dark. This audiobook is your blueprint for that transformation. We are going to dismantle the excuses, the self-doubt, and the average behaviors that have kept you tethered to mediocrity. We are going to install the habits, the speech patterns, and the decision-making frameworks of the world elite. By the time we are done, you will not just be looking for success. You will be attracting it because your very presence demands it. The stakes could not be higher. If you stay the way you are, you will continue to get the results you have always gotten. You will stay part of the 99% who wonder what might have been. But if you commit to this shift, if you decide today that you will no longer wait for permission to be great, you will become unstoppable. Success is a choice that you make every single second of every single day. It is time to stop acting like a candidate and start acting like the person who already has the job. It is time to think like you are already successful. Chapter 1: The Identity Gap. The greatest barrier to your success is not your lack of resources, your education, or your upbringing. It is the gap between who you are today and who the version of you that is successful already is. Most people think of success as something they do, but it is actually something you become. Think about the 99%. They wake up every day and try to achieve success. They try to work hard, they try to be productive, and they try to get ahead. But because their internal identity is still that of a person who is struggling, or a person who is average, Their efforts are constantly undermined by their own self-image. When you try to do something that is inconsistent with who you believe you are, you will eventually self-sabotage. You see this in people who win the lottery and lose it all within a few years. Their external reality changed, but their internal identity remained that of a person who doesn't know how to manage wealth. To close the identity gap, you must first recognize that the successful version of you already exists in the future, and that person has a different set of standards, a different way of walking, and a different way of thinking. You must begin to bridge that gap now. Most people wait for the evidence before they believe in the identity. They say, "Show me the money and then I will act like a millionaire." Successful people say, "I will act with the discipline and mindset of a millionaire, and the money will have no choice but to follow." This is the law of identity. Your brain is wired to keep you consistent with who you think you are. If you think you are a procrastinator, you will find ways to procrastinate even when you have important work to do. If you think you are a leader, you will step up and take charge even when you feel uncertain. The 99% are constantly looking for external signals to tell them who they are. They look at their bank account to see if they are valuable. They look at social media likes to see if they are liked. They look at their boss's feedback to see if they are competent. You must flip this. You must decide who you are regardless of what the current evidence says. If you were already at the top of your field, how would you handle a setback today? Would you crumble and complain like most people do? Or would you look at it as a minor data point in an otherwise successful trajectory? A successful person does not get shaken by a bad day because their identity is not tied to a single event. They know they are a winner, so a temporary loss is just a lesson. Most people are fragile because their identity is tied to their current circumstances. When things go wrong, they feel like a failure. When things go right, they feel like a success. This emotional roller coaster is exhausting and keeps you from making the steady, calculated moves required for long-term growth. You need to develop an identity that is independent of your current results. This requires a radical shift in your daily self-talk. Most people spend their day reinforcing their limitations. They say things like, "I am just not a morning person," or "I am not good with numbers," or "I always get nervous in meetings." Every time you say "I am" followed by a negative trait, you are hammering another nail into the coffin of your potential. The successful version of you does not speak this way. The successful version of you uses language that empowers and expands. They say, "I am the kind of person who finds a way," or "I am becoming more disciplined every day." You must begin to audit every thought and every word. Ask yourself, is this what the person I want to become would say? If the answer is no, you must ruthlessly discard that thought. You are building a new persona from the ground up. This is not about being fake. It is about being intentional. Most people are a collection of habits and beliefs that they picked up from their parents, their teachers, and their peers. They are living a life that was designed by others. To be successful, you must consciously design your own identity. You must decide what your standards are. What time does a successful person wake up? How do they treat their body? How do they handle conflict? How do they manage their time? Once you define these standards, you must meet them today. Not tomorrow, not when you have more money, but today. If a successful person would not spend 3 hours scrolling on their phone, then you do not spend 3 hours scrolling on your phone. If a successful person would speak with authority and clarity, then you must speak with authority and clarity right now, even if you are just talking to the cashier at the grocery store. You are practicing for the life you want. The 99% think that they can act average now and suddenly turn on the greatness once they arrive. It doesn't work that way. Greatness is a habit that is cultivated in the mundane moments of an ordinary day. Closing the identity gap means acting like the person you want to be before you have the results that person has. It means being the hero of your story while you are still in the opening chapters. It means having the audacity to believe in your own greatness before anyone else sees it. This is how you move from the 99% to the 1%. You don't wait for success to find you. You become the kind of person that success is attracted to. Chapter 2: Precision over Luck. Luck is the excuse used by the average to explain the results of the exceptional. Most people spend their lives hopping for a break. They hope the economy stays good. They hope their boss notices them. They hope they get a lucky opportunity. This reliance on hope is a sign of a weak mindset. Success is not a lottery. It is a game of precision. The 99% live in a fog of vagueness. Ask most people what they want, and they will give you blurry answers. They want to be rich, they want to be happy, they want a better job. Vague goals produce vague results. The successful mind operates with the precision of a laser. If you want to think like you are already successful, you must stop being vague. A successful person knows exactly what they are moving toward. They know the numbers, the dates, the specific outcomes, and the exact requirements for victory. They don't leave their future to chance. While the average person is drifting through their day, reacting to whatever emails or notifications pop up, the successful person is executing a pre-planned strategy. They understand that their time is their most valuable asset, and they guard it with an almost aggressive intensity. Think about how a high-level CEO or an elite athlete approaches their day. They don't wake up and wonder what they should do. They have a schedule that is aligned with their ultimate objectives. They have prioritized their tasks so that they are always working on the highest leverage activities. Most people confuse being busy with being productive. They spend all day doing low-value tasks like checking social media, responding to non-urgent messages, and having meetings that lead nowhere. They feel tired at the end of the day, so they think they worked hard. But they moved the needle 0 inches. The successful mindset rejects this delusion. You must develop a surgical focus on the things that actually matter. This means saying no to almost everything. The 99% want to be liked, so they say yes to every request and every invitation. They spread themselves so thin that they become mediocre at everything and great at nothing. The 1% understand that greatness requires trade-offs. You cannot have it all, but you can have what is most important if you are willing to sacrifice the trivial. Precision also applies to your internal world. Most people have a cluttered mind full of half-finished thoughts, worries about the future, and regrets about the past. A successful mind is clear and organized. You must learn to direct your thoughts toward your objectives with unwavering intensity. This is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. A dreamer thinks about the goal. An achiever thinks about the process required to reach the goal. You must become obsessed with the process. If you were already successful, you wouldn't be worried about how things are going to happen. You would be focused on making them happen. Luck is simply what happens when preparation meets opportunity. But most people aren't prepared, so when opportunity knocks, they don't even hear it. Or worse, they hear it but they are too afraid to answer. Precision means being prepared. It means doing the work when no one is watching so that when the lights come on, you are ready. It means knowing your craft so well that you can perform under pressure without thinking. The 99% are always looking for a shortcut or a hack. They want the result without the rigors of the process. They want the prize without the precision. But the universe does not reward shortcuts, it rewards excellence. And excellence is impossible without precision. You must start demanding more from yourself. Stop accepting sloppy work. Stop accepting late arrivals. Stop accepting excuses from yourself. If you are going to think like a successful person, you must hold yourself to the standards of a successful person. This requires a level of self-discipline that most people find uncomfortable. But comfort is the graveyard of ambition. You must be willing to do the boring, repetitive, precise work that others are too lazy to do. Look at your life right now. Where are you being vague? Where are you being sloppy? Where are you relying on hope instead of a plan? Identify those areas and apply a new level of precision. Rewrite your goals with specific numbers and deadlines. Clean up your workspace. Tighten up your schedule. Speak with more clarity. When you start living with precision, you send a signal to yourself and the world that you are serious. You are no longer just a spectator. You are a player. And players who play with precision are the ones who win the game. Success is not a mysterious force that strikes like lightning. It is the predictable result of 1,000 precise actions taken consistently over time. Stop waiting for your lucky break. Start building your precise path. The more precise you are, the less luck you will need. Chapter 3: The Cost of Admission. Everything in this life has a price tag. Most people see the lifestyle of the successful and they want it, but they are unwilling to look at the bill. They see the freedom, the wealth, and the influence, but they ignore the thousands of hours of isolation, the crushing pressure, the late-night sacrifices, and the repeated failures that were required to get there. To think like you are already successful, you must accept the cost of admission before you ever step through the door. The 99% are looking for a bargain. They want the rewards of success at a discount. They want the shredded body without the grueling workouts. They want the thriving business without the years of uncertainty. They want the respect without the responsibility. This is why they stay where they are. Success is never on sale. It is always full price, and the price is paid in advance. When you start thinking like a winner, you stop complaining about how hard the work is. You realize that the difficulty is the filter that keeps the average people out. If it were easy, everyone would do it, and if everyone did it, it would have no value. The hardship is the point. Most people view obstacles as reasons to stop. Successful people view obstacles as the price they must pay to move to the next level. Think about the mental shift that occurs when you stop viewing work as a burden and start viewing it as an investment. Most people feel like they are losing something when they have to work late or skip a party. They feel like they are missing out on life. The successful person knows that they are not missing out, they are trading up. They are trading a temporary low-level pleasure for a permanent high-level gain. This is the essence of delayed gratification, a trait that is almost non-existent in the 99%. We live in a world of instant everything. Instant food, instant entertainment, instant validation. Because of this, people have lost the ability to suffer for a cause. They have lost the ability to stay focused on a long-term goal when the immediate environment is uncomfortable. To think like you are already successful, you must become comfortable with discomfort. You must embrace the grind. You must understand that your current struggle is the very thing that is tempering your soul and preparing you for the weight of success. Success is heavy. It brings more responsibility, more criticism, and more demands on your time. If you cannot handle the weight of the work now, you will never be able to handle the weight of the reward later. The cost of admission also includes the social price. Most people are terrified of being different. They want to fit in, they want to be part of the group, and they want everyone to like them. But success is inherently lonely. When you decide to elevate your life, you are going to make people uncomfortable. Your drive will highlight their laziness. Your discipline will highlight their lack of control. Your ambition will highlight their complacency. Because of this, they will try to pull you back down. They will mock you, they will question you, and they will tell you to be more realistic. The 99% are masters of mediocrity, and they guard the gates of the status quo fiercely. To be successful, you must be willing to pay the price of being misunderstood. You must be willing to lose the approval of people who are not going anywhere. This is a high price for most people, and it is the reason many people quit. They would rather be liked and average than respected and exceptional. You must decide right now that your vision is worth more than the opinions of small-minded people. You must be willing to stand alone if that is what it takes. Another part of the cost is the mental energy required to stay focused. The world is designed to distract you. There are billion-dollar companies whose entire business model is to steal your attention and keep you scrolling. Most people are victims of this economy of distraction. They have no control over their own focus. To think like a successful person, you must regain command of your mind. This requires a level of mental discipline that is rare. It means saying no to the quick dopamine hits of social media and saying yes to the deep, focused work that moves the needle. It means being willing to be bored. The 99% are terrified of boredom, so they fill every empty moment with noise. The successful person knows that in the silence is where the best ideas are born and where the most progress is made. Look at the price you are currently paying. Is it enough? Are you really sacrificing anything, or are you just doing what is comfortable? If your life looks like everyone else's, you will end up with what everyone else has. To get what the 1% has, you must do what the 99% are unwilling to do. You must pay the price of admission every single day. Success is not a one-time payment. It is a daily subscription. You have to earn it again every morning. Stop looking for the shortcut. Stop looking for the discount. Put your head down, do the work, and pay the price. The view from the top is worth every bit of the climb, but you have to be willing to sweat to get there. Chapter 4: Killing the Average Self. Inside of you, there is a battle taking place between the person you are and the person you are capable of becoming. The person you are right now, the one with the excuses, the one who likes comfort, the one who cares what people think, is the average self. And if you want to be successful, you have to murder that version of yourself. You cannot take your old baggage into your new life. Most people try to add success on top of their average habits. They try to build a cathedral on a foundation of sand. They want the big results, but they want to keep their small-minded ways of thinking. It doesn't work. The 99% are defined by their attachment to who they have been. They say things like, "This is just how I am," or "I have always been this way." They treat their personality and their habits like they are set in stone. The successful mindset treats the self as a work in progress, a piece of clay that can be reshaped at any time. To think like you are already successful, you must be willing to ruthlessly kill off the parts of you that no longer serve your mission. This means destroying your need for comfort. Average people prize comfort above almost everything else. They want to be comfortable in their jobs, comfortable in their relationships, and comfortable in their routines. But growth and comfort cannot coexist. If you are comfortable, you are not growing. If you are not growing, you are dying. Successful people are constantly pushing themselves into zones of discomfort. They seek out challenges that scare them. They take on responsibilities that they aren't quite ready for. They understand that the version of them that can handle those challenges only emerges once they are in the fire. You must stop protecting your ego. Most people are so afraid of looking stupid or failing that they never try anything new. They stay in their little bubble where they feel safe. You must be willing to look like a fool to become a master. You must be willing to fail publicly to succeed privately. Killing the average self also means auditing your circle of influence. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. The 99% surround themselves with people who reinforce their average habits. They hang out with people who complain about the government, people who talk about other people, and people who have no goals. If you stay in that environment, your average self will thrive. To kill the average self, you must find a new tribe. You must seek out people who are better than you, faster than you, and more successful than you. This will be painful at first because it will highlight exactly how far you have to go. But that pain is necessary. It is the friction that creates the spark of change. Most people avoid successful people because they feel inferior around them. Successful people seek out those who are more successful because they want to learn. You must also kill your addiction to entertainment. The average person spends 4 to 5 hours a day consuming entertainment. They know more about fictional characters on a screen than they do about their own business or their own health. They are spectators of other people's lives because they are bored with their own. When you think like you are already successful, you realize that your life is the most interesting show on earth. You don't have time to watch someone else win because you are too busy winning yourself. Every hour you spend consuming mindlessly is an hour you are stealing from your future self. I am not saying you can never relax, but I am saying that your default state should be creation, not consumption. The 99% consume, the 1% create. You must kill the part of you that craves the approval of others. This is one of the hardest things to do because we are biologically wired to want to belong. But the path to success requires you to be an outlier. You cannot be an outlier and fit in at the same time. You have to be okay with people not liking you. You have to be okay with people thinking you are crazy or obsessed. In fact, if people don't think you are a little bit crazy, your goals probably aren't big enough. Success requires a level of obsession that is frightening to average people. They will call you a workaholic. They will say you are out of balance. They will tell you to take it easy. You must ignore them. Their advice is designed to keep you average like them. Killing your average self is a daily practice. It is the decision to get out of bed when your average self wants to hit snooze. It is the decision to eat the healthy meal when your average self wants the junk. It is the decision to make the extra call when your average self wants to quit. Every time you choose the harder path, you are starving your average self and feeding your successful self. Eventually, the average version of you will wither away from lack of attention, and the successful version will become your new default. This is not a change that happens overnight. It is a slow, steady process of habitual destruction and reconstruction. You are the sculptor and the marble. It is time to start chipping away the pieces that don't belong. Chapter 5: Commanding Your Environment. Your environment is either a wind at your back or a wall in your face. Most people are completely unaware of how much their physical and digital surroundings are shaping their thoughts and behaviors. They live in environments that were designed by accident or by people who want to sell them something. To think like you are already successful, you must take absolute command of your environment. You must curate your world so that it reinforces the identity of the person you are becoming. The 99% live in cluttered, distracting, and low-energy environments. Their homes are full of junk, their desks are covered in papers, and their digital devices are a chaotic mess of notifications. This environmental friction makes it almost impossible to maintain a high level of focus and discipline. A successful mind requires order. Look at the spaces where you spend your time. Do they look like the spaces of a successful person? If you were already a world-class performer, would you be working in a room that is messy and disorganized? No. You would have a space that is clean, organized, and optimized for deep work. Your environment is a physical representation of your mind. If your environment is a mess, your mind is a mess. Start by ruthlessly cleaning and organizing your physical space. Get rid of everything that is not useful or beautiful. Create a workspace that inspires you and makes you feel powerful. This isn't just about aesthetics, it is about psychology. When you walk into a high-standard environment, you naturally raise your own standards. Commanding your environment also means taking control of your digital world. Most people are digital slaves. They react to every beep, buzz, and red dot on their phone. They have allowed tech companies to hijack their dopamine systems. This is the ultimate environment of distraction. To think like you are already successful, you must be the master of your tools. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Delete apps that drain your time and offer no value. Curate your social media feeds so that you are only seeing content that educates or inspires you. If you are following people who post about their drama, their politics, or their negativity, you are poisoning your mental environment. You must treat your attention like it is a precious resource, because it is. The 99% give their attention away for free to anyone who asks for it. The 1% guard their attention like a hawk. Your social environment is even more critical. We have already talked about your inner circle, but you must also consider the casual environments you inhabit. Do you go to places where people are talking about ideas, or places where people are talking about people? Do you go to places that require you to level up, or places that allow you to stay small? A successful person places themselves in environments where success is normal. If you hang out at a high-end gym, you will see people who take their health seriously, and you will naturally start to take your health more seriously. If you attend industry conferences and sit in the front row, you will be surrounded by the movers and shakers, and you will start to think like them. You must stop hanging out in the waiting room of life. Get into the room where it happens. Even the media you consume is part of your environment. Most people feed their minds a diet of garbage. They watch the news, which is designed to keep them afraid and angry. They watch mindless reality TV, which is designed to make them feel superior to people who are even more average than they are. They listen to music that celebrates low-level behaviors. To think like a winner, you must feed your mind a diet of greatness. Read books by the masters. Listen to podcasts that challenge your thinking. Watch documentaries about people who have achieved the impossible. Surround yourself with the thoughts of the elite. When your environment is saturated with success, it becomes very difficult to think like a failure. The 99% think that they can overcome a bad environment with willpower alone. They are wrong. Willpower is a finite resource. It will eventually run out. The successful person knows that the best way to maintain discipline is to make it the path of least resistance. If you want to eat healthy, don't have junk food in the house. If you want to work hard, have a dedicated office where that is the only thing you do. If you want to be positive, don't hang out with negative people. You must design your life so that your environment does the heavy lifting for you. This is what it means to command your environment. It is about being the architect of your reality rather than a tenant in someone else's. Take a look around you right now. Does your current environment support the person you want to be or the person you are trying to leave behind? If it is the latter, change it. Move the furniture, delete the apps, end the toxic friendships, and clear the clutter. You are not a tree. You can move. You are not a victim. You can choose. Create an environment that demands greatness from you, and you will find it much easier to deliver. Chapter 6. The Discipline of Delusion. There is a fine line between a visionary and a crazy person, and that line is usually called success. To think like you are already successful, you must develop what I call the discipline of delusion. This is the ability to believe in a reality that does not yet exist with such conviction that you eventually force it into existence. Most people are realists. They look at the world as it is and they adapt to it. They look at their current bank balance and they say, "I can't afford that." They look at their current skills and they say, "I can't do that." They pride themselves on being grounded and practical. But realism is just another word for mediocrity. Every great achievement in human history was once considered a delusion. It was a delusion to think we could fly. It was a delusion to think we could put a man on the moon. It was a delusion to think we could have the world's information in our pockets. The 99% stay stuck because they only believe what they can see. The 1% see what they believe. You must learn to live in your future reality even while your present reality is screaming at you. This is not about lying to yourself. It is about directing your creative imagination. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This is why athletes use visualization to improve their performance. They play the game in their head 1,000 times before they ever step onto the field. They see the win, they feel the sweat, they hear the crowd. By the time the actual game starts, their brain thinks it has already happened. You must do the same with your success. You must visualize your future with such clarity and frequency that it feels more real than your present. This requires a high level of discipline. The 99% allow their minds to wander wherever they want. They spend their time imagining worst-case scenarios and worrying about what could go wrong. They are using the power of visualization in reverse. They are visualizing failure and then wondering why they are anxious. To think like a winner, you must take control of your mental imagery. You must spend time every single day seeing yourself as the person you want to be. See yourself handling high-level meetings with confidence. See yourself making the decisions that lead to massive growth. See yourself living in the home you want, driving the car you want, and having the impact you want. Don't just see it, feel it. Feel the pride, the gratitude, and the peace that comes with that level of achievement. This mental rehearsal is the bridge between your current state and your future state. But delusion without discipline is just a fantasy. This is where most people get it wrong. They think that just imagining success is enough. It is not. The discipline of delusion means that you believe in the outcome so much that you are willing to work as if it is already a certainty. When you are delusional in a disciplined way, you don't work to see if it will happen. You work because you know it is happening. This changes your entire energy. Instead of coming from a place of lack and desperation, you come from a place of abundance and conviction. People can feel the difference. When you speak from a place of certainty, people trust you. When you act from a place of conviction, people follow you. The 99% are always looking for proof. They say, "Show me the results and then I will believe." But the law of the universe is belief first, results second. You have to be the person who believes when no one else does. You have to be the person who keeps going when there is no evidence that it's working. This is the hardest part of the journey. There is a period of time between the decision to be successful and the appearance of success where you will look like a fool. Your friends will wonder why you are working so hard for something that hasn't happened yet. Your family will tell you to get a real job. You will have nights where you wonder if you are actually just crazy. This is the testing ground. If you can maintain your disciplined delusion through this phase, you will win. Most people quit right before the breakthrough because they couldn't stand the lack of evidence. They allowed the real world to win. You must be more stubborn than your circumstances. You must hold onto your vision with a grip of iron. This doesn't mean you ignore your problems. It means you don't let them define your reality. You deal with the practicalities of today while living in the truth of tomorrow. You are a citizen of your future. Start acting like it. Speak with the authority of someone who has already won. Make decisions with the long-term perspective of a champion. When you carry yourself with this kind of disciplined delusion, the world eventually bends to your will. People start to see what you see. Opportunities start to align with your vision. Success is a self-fulfilling prophecy, but you have to be the one to start the cycle. Stop being a realist. Start being a visionary. Believe in your greatness until the world has no choice but to agree with you. Chapter 7. Radical Responsibility. The moment you blame anyone or anything else for the state of your life, you have handed over your power. Most people are professional blamers. They blame the economy, they blame their parents, they blame their boss, they blame the weather, they blame their genes. They have a list of reasons why they aren't where they want to be, and all of those reasons are external. By doing this, they make themselves victims. A victim, by definition, is someone who cannot change their situation because they are not the cause of it. To think like you are already successful, you must adopt a philosophy of radical responsibility. You must decide that everything in your life is your fault. This is a terrifying thought for the 99%, but it is the most empowering thought for the 1%. If everything is your fault, then everything is under your control. If you are the reason you are broke, you are the reason you can become wealthy. If you are the reason you are out of shape, you are the reason you can become fit. If you are the reason your relationships are failing, you are the reason they can be saved. Radical responsibility means you stop looking for excuses and start looking for solutions. The average person spends more time explaining why they failed than they do trying to succeed. They want to be right about why they are failing. They want people to understand their struggle and pity them. Successful people have no interest in being right about failure. They only want to be right about success. They don't care about the reasons why something didn't work. They only care about how to make it work next time. Think about how this shift changes your daily life. When a project at work fails, the average person looks for someone to point the finger at. They say, "I didn't get the information I needed," or "the deadline was too short." The successful person says, "I should have followed up more closely," or "I should have managed my time better." They take the hit, they learn the lesson, and they move on. This is why successful people grow so much faster than everyone else, because they take responsibility for everything. They are constantly learning and improving. The person who blames others never learns anything because they think they didn't do anything wrong. They are doomed to repeat the same mistakes forever. Radical responsibility also applies to your internal state. Most people believe that their emotions are a reaction to the world. They are happy because something good happened, or they are angry because someone was mean to them. They are like a leaf in the wind, blown around by the whims of others. A successful person takes responsibility for their own state of mind. They understand that no one can make them feel anything without their permission. They choose their response to every situation. If someone cuts them off in traffic, they don't let it ruin their morning. They recognize that their energy is too valuable to be wasted on a stranger's bad driving. They stay in command of their internal environment. This level of self-mastery is what allows them to perform at a high level even under extreme pressure. The 99% are easily rattled because they have no internal anchor. They are at the mercy of their circumstances. You must also take responsibility for your results, even when factors truly are outside of your control. Let's say the economy crashes and your business takes a hit. The average person says, "Well, the economy is bad, nothing I can do." The successful person says, "I should have had a more diversified revenue stream," or "I should have seen the signs earlier and pivoted." Even if it's 99% the economy's fault, the successful person focuses on the 1% they could have controlled. That 1% is where the power is. By focusing on what you can control, you become more resilient and more creative. You stop waiting for the world to be fair and you start making the world work for you. Success is not fair. Life is not fair. The 99% spend their lives complaining about this lack of fairness. They want the rules to be different. The 1% accept the rules as they are, and they play the game better than anyone else. Radical responsibility is the ultimate competitive advantage. While everyone else is waiting for a savior, you are saving yourself. While everyone else is complaining about the obstacles, you are building a bridge over them. This is the mindset of a leader. People follow those who take responsibility and shy away from those who make excuses. If you want to be a person of influence, you must be the one who stands up and says, "This is on me." It is a heavy burden, but it is the only way to be truly free. Freedom is not the absence of responsibility. It is the ability to choose your responsibilities. When you take ownership of your life, you are no longer a spectator. You are the captain of your ship. It doesn't matter where the wind is blowing. You are the one with your hand on the rudder. Start today. Audit your life for blame. Where are you pointing the finger? Where are you making excuses? Stop it. Take back your power. Admit that you are exactly where you are because of the choices you have made. And then make better choices. Chapter 8: High Performance Communication. The way you communicate is a direct reflection of your internal reality. Successful people don't just think differently, they speak differently. Most people use language that is weak, uncertain, and filled with escape hatches. They say things like, "I'll try to get it done," or "I think maybe we should," or "I'm hoping this works out." This is the language of the 99%. It is language that avoids commitment and deflects responsibility. To think like you are already successful, you must adopt the language of high performance. This means speaking with authority, clarity, and conviction. Instead of saying "I'll try," you say "I will." Instead of saying "I think," you say "I am confident." Instead of saying "I hope," you say "the plan is." This shift in vocabulary is not just about how others perceive you, it's about how you perceive yourself. Your words are the commands you give to your own subconscious mind. When you say "I'll try," you are giving yourself permission to fail. You are telling your brain that the outcome is optional. When you say "I will," you are creating a non-negotiable contract. Your brain then shifts into problem-solving mode to ensure that the outcome is achieved. Successful people understand the power of their word. They don't make promises lightly, but when they do, they follow through with absolute certainty. The 99% are flaky. They say they will do things and then they don't. They make excuses about why they couldn't make it or why the work isn't finished. This erodes their self-trust and the trust of others. High-performance communication requires a level of integrity that is rare in the world today. It means your words and your actions are perfectly aligned. If you say you are going to do something, it is as good as done. This creates an aura of reliability and power that draws people to you. Communication is also about what you don't say. The average person talks too much. They feel the need to fill every silence with noise. They gossip, they complain, and they explain themselves to people who don't matter. A successful person understands that silence is often the most powerful form of communication. They listen more than they speak. They gather information, they observe, and they only speak when they have something of value to add. When they do speak, their words carry weight because they are not wasted. You must also master the art of internal communication. We have touched on self-talk, but high-performance communication takes it a step further. It's about the narratives you build around your experiences. When something goes wrong, the 99% tell themselves a story of victimhood. They say, "Why does this always happen to me?" The successful person tells themselves a story of growth. They say, "What is this here to teach me?" The facts are the same, but the story is different. The story you tell yourself determines the actions you take. If you tell yourself you are a victim, you will act like a victim. If you tell yourself you are a student of life, you will act like a student and get better. You must be the editor-in-chief of your own internal narrative. Do not allow low-level, self-defeating stories to take root in your mind. High-performance communication also involves how you handle conflict. Most people are either aggressive or passive-aggressive. They either blow up or they shut down. Neither of these approaches is effective for long-term success. Successful people are assertive. They speak their truth clearly and directly, but without unnecessary emotion or ego. They address the issue, not the person. They are focused on finding a resolution rather than winning an argument. This allows them to maintain strong relationships even when they disagree. The 99% are so afraid of conflict that they let problems fester until they explode. The 1% deal with problems when they are small through direct and honest communication. Think about how you present yourself to the world. A successful person carries themselves with a physical presence that communicates confidence before they even open their mouth. They stand tall, they make eye contact, and they move with purpose. The average person slouches, looks at the ground, and moves tentatively. You must realize that your body is constantly communicating. If you want to think like you are already successful, you must make sure your body is telling a story of power and readiness. This isn't about being arrogant, it's about being present and self-assured. Communication is the tool you use to negotiate your place in the world. If you use weak tools, you will get a weak result. If you use high-performance tools, you will command a high-performance life. Start paying attention to every word that comes out of your mouth. Eliminate the fillers, the hedges, and the excuses. Speak with the precision we discussed earlier. Be the most reliable person you know. When your communication reaches a certain level of excellence, you will find that doors begin to open for you that were previously locked. People want to work with, invest in, and follow people who communicate with clarity and conviction. It is one of the most valuable skills you can ever develop. Stop talking like someone who is trying to be successful. Start talking like someone who already is. Chapter 9: Resilience as a Default. Most people view failure as a stop sign. They try something, it doesn't work, and they conclude that it wasn't meant to be. They take the rejection personally, they feel embarrassed, and they retreat back to their comfort zone. This is why the 99% never achieve anything great. Success is not a straight line. It is a series of pivots and perseverances. To think like you are already successful, you must make resilience your default setting. You must view failure not as the opposite of success, but as a necessary ingredient of it. A successful person has failed more times than the average person has even tried. The difference is that the successful person didn't let the failure stop them. They viewed it as data. They learned what didn't work, adjusted their strategy, and went back into the fray. Think about a scientist running an experiment. If the experiment fails, the scientist doesn't cry and say they are a bad scientist. They say, okay, that variable didn't produce the result I wanted, let's try another one. This is how you must approach your life and your business. The 99% are emotionally attached to their plans. When the plan fails, they feel like they have failed. The successful mind is detached from the plan but obsessed with the goal. If plan A doesn't work, there are 25 more letters in the alphabet. Resilience is the ability to stay focused on the objective regardless of the setbacks. It is the mental toughness to keep going when everyone else would quit. Most people quit when they are tired. Successful people quit when they are done. This requires a fundamental shift in how you perceive pain and discomfort. The average person avoids pain at all costs. They want the path of least resistance. The successful person understands that pain is often the indicator of growth. They lean into the struggle. They know that on the other side of the discomfort is a new level of capability. Resilience is built in the moments when you want to give up but you don't. It's like a muscle. You have to stress it to make it stronger. If you have had an easy life, you are probably not very resilient. The challenges you have faced are actually your greatest assets because they have taught you how to survive and how to fight. To think like a winner, you must develop an unshakable belief in your own ability to figure things out. Successful people don't always know the answer, but they know they will find it. They have a deep-seated self-trust that allows them to walk into uncertain situations without fear. The 99% are paralyzed by uncertainty. They want a guarantee before they start. But there are no guarantees in the world of high achievement. The only guarantee is that if you quit, you will definitely fail. Resilience also means being able to handle criticism and rejection without losing your drive. The more successful you become, the more people will try to tear you down. The average person is crushed by a negative comment or a cold shoulder. The successful person uses it as fuel. They have a thick skin because their self-worth is not dependent on the approval of others. They know who they are and what they are doing, so the noise of the world doesn't distract them. You must learn to filter the feedback you receive. If the criticism is constructive and comes from someone you respect, take it and get better. If it's just noise from the 99%, ignore it. Do not allow the opinions of people who haven't done what you want to do to affect your emotional state. This is part of the radical responsibility we talked about earlier. You are responsible for your own resilience. Most people wait for someone to come and motivate them or encourage them. They want a cheerleader. A successful person is their own cheerleader. They have an internal fire that doesn't need external validation to keep burning. When things get hard, they look in the mirror and remind themselves of why they started. They remind themselves of their vision and their identity. They don't wait for the world to get easier. They make themselves stronger. Look at your history of quitting. Where did you stop because it got too hard? Where did you let a rejection define your potential? It's time to go back and finish what you started, or at least apply the lessons to your next endeavor. Resilience is not something you are born with, it is something you choose. It is the decision to get back up one more time than you were knocked down. It is the quiet voice at the end of the day that says, "I will try again tomorrow." When resilience is your default, you are mathematically destined to succeed. Because you won't stop until you win, the win is inevitable. The only way you lose is if you stop. So don't stop. Embrace the failure, learn the lesson, and keep moving forward. The world belongs to those who can endure. Chapter 10. The Horizon of Expansion. Success is not a peak you reach and then stop. It is a horizon that expands as you move toward it. To think like you are already successful, you must understand that growth is a lifelong commitment. The moment you think you have arrived is the moment you begin to decline. The 99% are looking for a finish line. They want to reach a certain income level or a certain status and then coast. They want to be done with the work. The 1% realize that the reward for good work is more work. They are in love with the process of expansion. They are constantly looking for the next level of challenge, the next level of contribution, and the next level of self-mastery. Think about the most successful people in the world. They don't stop working when they have billions of dollars. They don't stop innovating when they have won every award. They keep going because their drive is internal. They aren't trying to beat others. They are trying to beat the version of themselves they were yesterday. This is the mindset of infinite expansion. Most people think in terms of scarcity. They think that there is a limited amount of success to go around, and if someone else wins, they lose. This leads to jealousy, competition, and a small way of living. Successful people think in terms of abundance. They know that the more they grow, the more value they can create, and the more the world expands for everyone. They aren't afraid of other people's success. They are inspired by it. They know that there is no limit to what can be achieved if you are willing to keep evolving. To think like you are already successful, you must be willing to let go of your past achievements. Many people get stuck because they are too busy looking at their old trophies. They become defined by what they did 10 years ago. A winner is defined by what they are doing now and what they are going to do next. You must have the courage to reinvent yourself over and over again. This requires a level of humility that is rare among the successful. You must be willing to be a beginner again. Every time you move to a new level, the rules of the game change. What worked at level 1 will not work at level 10. The 99% try to apply their old strategies to new problems. The 1% are always learning, always reading, and always seeking out mentors who can show them the next set of rules. Expansion also applies to your impact on others. As you become more successful, your focus should shift from "what can I get" to "what can I give?" True success is measured by the value you provide to the world. The more people you serve, the more successful you will become. The average person is focused on their own needs and their own comfort. The exceptional person is focused on solving problems and making a difference. This shift in focus is what leads to true fulfillment. Wealth and status are nice, but they are empty without a sense of purpose. When you are driven by a mission that is bigger than yourself, you have a source of energy that never runs out. You can work longer and harder because you aren't just doing it for the money, you are doing it for the mission. This is how you sustain high performance over decades rather than years. You must also expand your vision of what is possible. Most people have very small dreams. They just want to pay their bills and have a little left over for vacation. Because their vision is small, their effort is small. When you think like a successful person, you allow yourself to dream big. You ask, what if? What if I could change an entire industry? What if I could impact millions of lives? What if I could leave a legacy that lasts for generations? These kinds of questions pull greatness out of you. They force you to grow into the person who can achieve such things. Don't be afraid of the scale of your ambition. Be afraid of living a small life. The horizon of expansion is always there, waiting for you to take the next step. It requires you to be constantly auditing your life. Where have you become complacent? Where have you started to settle? Where are you playing small because you are afraid of the next level of responsibility? Identify those areas and push through the boundary. Success is a journey of becoming more disciplined, more aware, more capable, and more impactful. It is the greatest adventure a human being can go on. But it requires you to never be satisfied with where you are. Be grateful for what you have achieved, but stay hungry for what is next. The 99% are waiting for the end of the day, the end of the week, or the end of their career. You are just getting started. Every day is an opportunity to expand your territory. Every challenge is a chance to grow your capacity. The horizon is calling. Keep moving. A closing. You have reached the end of this blueprint, but you are at the beginning of your transformation. The principles we have discussed are not just ideas to be entertained. They are truths to be lived. Thinking like you are already successful is a radical act of rebellion against a world that wants you to be average. It is a refusal to wait for permission. It is a decision to claim your greatness right now, in the middle of your current circumstances. Remember, the gap between you and your dreams is not a gap of time or luck. It is a gap of identity. When you change who you are at the core, your world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your new frequency. You have learned to close the identity gap, to operate with precision, to pay the cost of admission, and to ruthlessly kill your average self. You have learned to command your environment, to practice disciplined delusion, to take radical responsibility, and to communicate with high-performance language. You have committed to resilience as your default and to a life of infinite expansion. These are the tools of the 1%. Now, the question is, what will you do with them? Knowledge without action is the ultimate waste of potential. Do not let this be another audiobook that you listen to and then forget. Do not go back to your old habits and your old ways of thinking. The version of you that started this journey is gone. The new version of you is standing at the threshold of a new life. This is where the real work begins. It begins in the next 5 minutes. It begins with the next decision you make. It begins with the way you carry yourself into your next meeting and the way you speak to yourself tonight. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are the architect of your destiny. You are a winner who is currently in the process of manifesting the results of your victory. Carry that conviction with you every second of every day. Do not look for external validation. Your own self-trust and discipline are all the validation you need. The road ahead will be challenging. There will be days when the old version of you tries to crawl back out of the grave. There will be people who try to pull you back down to their level, but they cannot stop you if you do not let them. You have the blueprint. You have the tools. You have the power. Go out and build the life you were meant to live. Think like you are already successful. Act with unwavering purpose, and the world will have no choice but to acknowledge the champion you have become. Your new life starts now. Go get it.